What is the Master's real name? Richard Gray, right?
God, Richard. Richard Gray. Richard Gray was a doctor. A little older than me, and Fran was
Mutants are
smart.
best equipped to deal with the world today.
Well, no, it's Richard Moreau according to Fallout 2.
Boyarsky was exiled 10 years ago, and Richard Moreau was exiled shortly after we left the vault.
This is a reference to The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, which received a film adaptation in 1996, just a couple years before Fallout 2 came out. So Fallout 2 changed the real name of the series' greatest villain to reference a funny Marlon Brando role that's more remembered by its parody in South Park than the actual film.
This is NAMBLA, right?
Yes?
The North American Man-Boy Love Association.
What? No, we're the North American Marlon Brando lookalikes.
Oh crap, we've got the wrong NAMBLA.
Oh, damn it, I'm in the wrong place.
There has been a long-running argument in the Fallout fandom about what role comedy plays in the series. This argument was definitely exacerbated when the TV show came out, but like most things in this fandom, it traces back to the second game. It's hard to call Fallout 1 comedic, but it has its moments.
Hey, you not look like Ghoul. How come? Huh? What?
There are lines that bring levity and characters who help break the tension, and the low intelligence run is a classic, but the game's tone is consistently dour all the way through. When it comes to Fallout 2, however, there is no shortage of humor. At times, the game is capable of maintaining a tone that's close to, or even on par with the first game, but there is such an abundance of tension-breaking humor that I would call it inconsistent overall. There's irreverence, slapstick, adult jokes, toilet humor, fourth wall breaking, and the game's favorite comedic device, references to pop culture. Fallout 2 has more in common tonally with Deadpool than it does with Fallout 1. I alluded to this in my video on the fate of the ghouls and how the Renewal Cult, a pivotal influence in resolving the Vault City Gecko quest chain, is a Logan's Run reference. Not only that, but the cult is headed by a talking mole rat named The Brain, and the ghoul who helps negotiate the Vault City Gecko alliance is named Gordon. Gordon, from Gecko, spends some time ranting about how greed is good.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
You're starting to see the problem, right? I've never seen a Fallout 2 developer confirm this, but I've often wondered if the pop culture references were caused either by disillusionment with the premise of the game. After all, many people feel that the Chosen One tribal angle is a little bit cliche, or were used as a crutch by the developers because of the game's limited dev time. Not that they were plagiarizing from other media, but that it takes less brain power to design compelling characters if they're just gags for shock value.
Well, never really hated humans. We just had a better way.
Okay, so if we're going to talk about pop culture references, we have to address that, yes, overall, Fallout was inspired by many post-apocalyptic stories that came before it. The first game is inspired by and occasionally references Mad Max, A Boy and His Dog, A Canticle for Leibowitz, Earth Abides, The Incredible Hulk, and maybe Interplay's first post-apocalyptic RPG, Wasteland. These aren't really references, this is source material that inspired Fallout. The leather armor looks like the Road Warrior, yes, but the Brotherhood of Steel is not identical to the Abbey of St. Leibowitz, and efforts to more closely copy Fallout's influences can result in narratively flat locations, just as I discussed in my video on the Abbey. Fallout 2, more than the first game, often gets called out for its special encounters. Of the 13 special encounters, 8 are pop culture references. I don't think it's fair to say that these negatively impact the game. They're special encounters that aren't guaranteed to occur in every playthrough. I'm also not sure if the target demographic in 1998 would have gotten the references as well. Look at how 3 encounters reference Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which came out in 1975, and then the Guardian of Forever encounter is a reference to a Star Trek episode from 1967. Maybe I'm underestimating how much of an impact that syndication had, but I kind of doubt that teenage boys in 1998 were big on the original Star Trek series. This was before that media was really accessible through streaming. On the other hand, I do think that these encounters are proof of the crutch that referential humor served the Fallout 2 developers. Special encounters are a low priority design goal, and it's easier to recreate the killer rabbit scene in Fallout 2 than to just think up an original gag. For low priority goals, low-effort humor can pile up. Unfortunately, Fallout 2 was so crunched that certain locations suffered from this too. For some fans, Fallout 2's over-reliance on pop culture references and humor was so frustrated that, early on in the fandom's history, there was a mod aiming to rewrite and gut a lot of the game's humor. For me personally, my enjoyment is only impacted in two areas. San Francisco, which on each new playthrough I often skip bigger and bigger chunks of, and also Broken Hills. The difference is that, in my opinion, San Francisco has a bad premise overall, and comes way too late in the game for me to care, but Broken Hills is a disappointment because it seems like real effort went in to build it up and tie it into the greater Fallout setting, but as a location, it not only feels lazily constructed, the humor itself is just completely botched.
Been there, seen that. Got the scars.
There is so much that I want to like about Broken Hills. Evidently, somebody at Interplay wanted me to like it too because they went through the effort of hiring Michael Dorn to voice Marcus.
You look like an Earthling, but your style of dress is puzzling.
Oh, thanks! I kinda like to stay one step ahead of the fashions.
Broken Hills has a fine premise. A multiracial mining town is believable and has historical roots in the settling of California and Nevada by immigrant laborers seeking fortune. Some people object to the town mining uranium, but uranium was never depleted in the Fallout setting before the war, only dwindling. After the war, with a much smaller human population, uranium supplies may last a little while longer now that the demand is inherently smaller. Plus, you need uranium for the Gecko reactor, so the settlement is necessary for the game's storyline to make sense. The fact that this is the game's only dedicated super mutant settlement is also important. Outside of here, you'll only meet a few super mutants at Shady Sands, and then in combat encounters like the Mariposa Ruins. Not only that, but Marcus's charisma instantly sells me on his story of traveling with Jacob the Paladin and settling the hills of western Nevada. Chris Avallone went into a lot of effort in the Fallout Bible to flesh out the timeline of Broken Hill settlement. He didn't do that for the NCR's history or the rise of the Reno bosses, he chose Broken Hills. Beyond the fact that to me the location is just kind of ugly looking and has some out-of-place looking assets for a mining town, Broken Hills is ultimately ruined for me because of how everything is treated as a joke. This is a location that should be very important to the NCR and Gecko's budding energy industry. Instead, there's very little to do here. There's an anti-mutant conspiracy to bust, which is alright, but not very fleshed out or explained. I don't know why these people don't like super mutants when they've been protected by Marcus for all their lives. You can fix the mine's air purifier, but we'll come back to that. Other quests you can do include toilet jokes and adult jokes. You can arm wrestle a super mutant, and if you lose, you end up with a ball gag, and you can also shovel Brahmin dung to get the Expert Excrement Expediter perk. I only had to do one take for that. You can fix a ghoul's AC so that flies stop hanging around his place, so I guess he smells pretty bad. If these aren't your style, you're in luck. We haven't even talked about the best quest chain. If you walk around Broken Hill's residential zone, specifically around the farms, a talking plant will ask you to be resettled in front of the ghoul retirement home. The plant's name is Seymour. Who also has a talking rad scorpion, and you have to beat the rad scorpion in a game of chess for an intelligence test. But to do so, you need help from Seymour, who's going to teach you the flying liver attack, which leads to the scorpion crashing out and attacking you, and it would be very lame if I were sitting here telling you that Broken Hills is very unfunny and dumb and bad, and I am an enlightened internet user who knows that real comedy is only found on the subreddits that I moderate. I'm not sure why the internet makes some people so humorless and averse to comedy. You don't have to go far at all in a fandom to see people having minor heart attacks over offhand jokes in a video game. If you think this is funny, that's great. In fact, I think that a lot of this is funny. But my amusement is impacted because outside of these quests, there's not much else going on for Broken Hills. If humor was mixed in with content that varied in tone, it wouldn't feel like this place is a theme park, but it does. And the last last thing is that what I dislike most about Broken Hills isn't just the emptiness in terms of serious content. I really dislike how Broken Hills' ending is handled. Even if you oust the anti-mutant conspirators and fix the mine's air filter for Dr. Zaius, another reference,
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, oh, Dr. Zaius. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
Broken Hill's uranium vein runs out and the town disperses. If you don't fix the air purifier, the town has no mining industry and disperses. If you leave the anti-mutant conspirators alone, there is a war between the humans and the mutants, and the town still disperses. Of course, mining towns turn into ghost towns all the time in real life. I don't dispute that. Broken Hills is, in real life, a former silver mining town in Nevada. What I'm frustrated at is that there's no way to actually affect change at Broken Hills. So the fact that there's no real change, plus this location just being vapid in general and using humor everywhere as a content-filling crutch, makes the whole thing feel like a slap in the face to me.
When Jacob heard the call and embraced it, so did the Vault Dweller.
There is a deep divide in the Fallout fandom. In fact, I know a lot of people prefer to think of it as multiple separate fandoms. There's not really a lot of shared love between the games that are popular with all of the Fallout communities. There is also a lot of disingenuous defense that goes on where people use the pop culture references in Fallout 2 as an excuse for why the humor in the Fallout TV show is okay. It's not a great argument for two reasons. The first is that the Fallout TV show's humor is entirely different from Fallout 2's humor. The TV show shares more of its comedy with Fallout 3, which relies on a lot of surreal and random humor. That makes sense for the time that Fallout 3 came out in. Fallout 3 presents the player with absurd situations and characters who don't realize that they're clowns, and so does the TV show. And that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of funny moments that I enjoyed in both Fallout 3 and the TV show, but the second problem I have with this argument is that there is something that Fallout 2 and the TV show do have in common. They both use humor to distract from their lack of plot. Earlier, I briefly referenced the existence of a mod that aimed to rewrite large sections of Fallout 2 in order to clean up its tonal problems. That project was started in 2004 by NMA user Human Shield. I haven't played it, so I can't recommend it like I often do with mods and games, but I find the project commendable. It tackles a lot of the stuff that you would expect. It limits the Easter eggs, it improves San Francisco's plotline, it rewrites the Hubologists extensively, it makes Reno less Reno. It also changes a lot of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think to change. The NCR's tech level is reduced. Arroyo is apparently remade into more of a Shady Sand style location, and it also changes out the gold coins for bottle caps. I'm just going off of what the mods page on NMA says, but I'm amazed because the only thing the mod changes about Broken Hills is that it reduces the number of giant ants in its underground level. That's it? On the original page, Human Shield said that they wanted to solidify the setting, which is a goal that I think that many of my friends in the New Vegas modding scene would sympathize with. Still, the design choices are interesting because it reflects what fans were disappointed by and what they wanted to change back in that early phase of the fandom's growth. This is not a condemnation of humor and comedy in Fallout. I have played a Fallout game that was pretty much devoid of humor. It's called Fallout 4. There's some good sarcastic lines, but when you have a design philosophy like Emil Paliarulo's on what players will do to your writing, you probably wouldn't put much effort into writing funny or memorable moments either.
We're going to write the great American novel. It's going to be this thick. And on every page will be written comedy and tragedy, and it'll be wonderful, it'll be amazing. And you're going to give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're going to throw them around the room. And they're never going to see your story. Because the story is there, right? But they are going to spend 30 hours making shacks. Okay?
And by the way, for all the praise that I give to Fallout Nevada and Sonora, they're also pretty humorless. Nevada has some unintentional humor that might be coming from the culture clash with Russian devs and me being an American, but Sonora has a tone that might be bleaker than Fallout 1. This is supposed to be an endorsement of humor in Fallout, as long as humor isn't being used as empty calories to cover up for the fact that there is not good creative storytelling going on in Fallout. When it comes to something like Broken Hills, there was just so much potential to the premise, and yet, as it stands, I would rather have seen the location get cut and have Marcus be moved somewhere else in the game. Unfortunately, as time goes on, there's more and more parts of the Fallout setting that I'd rather relegate to the Broken Hills bucket.
It takes a few years after being dipped to get the juices flowing again.
In terms of funny moments in Fallout mods, I don't really play joke mods or anything, and I think humor is too subjective for me to be like, oh, you should go play this joke mod. Like, it's like recommending a comedy movie. You do that, and then people start judging you for the stuff you laugh at. It's just kind of stupid. Don't bother. But I will say the intentionally funniest moment that I encountered in a Fallout mod is in some guy's New Vegas Bounties 3, where you have the holotape with Randall on it going on his rant about the store or whatever he's going to open called the Buttered Biscuit. Hilarious writing. You don't need me to tell you to go play some guy's mods. Everyone knows to go do that, so just want to put that out there. That's the funniest moment I've encountered in a Fallout mod. So thank you.